So today's session is about temp records, and the main thing that we want to encourage with the creating a temp record in the system is to fill it out as completely as you can, and the fact that it's in a temp form means that it will get reviewed, and it also is a mechanism for you to go back and make additional changes to the record and have an easy way of finding it in a list. So anyway, there's practical applications of this, and as we go through, be sure to ask any questions. If you see that I'm missing something, I don't mind if you interject at all to let me know. So I'll bring up the Evergreen client. Just before the session, I got a couple examples of some things that need to be cataloged for a couple different libraries. And so I didn't have any time for research. This is going to be completely off the cuff. And I may need to do some research later and embellish the record more, but we'll at least get it started and go over some points. All right, so the first thing, in order to create a temp record, we go to the cataloging menu and down to create new MARC record. The way that this is set up is it's set up with a drop-down box for choices of the type of record. Right now, we only have one temp record format, and it's geared towards books. I'm going to be adding some additional templates in the next couple days, so this area will become more populated, and we'll have a book temp and a audio temp. Anyway, we'll have a lot of different templates, along with some other ones for book and audio and music that have the RDA tags in them. So I'll be beefing up this template area. For today, we're going to go into the KTemp because what I've got to catalog today is a couple books. So I'm going to click on that one, click on load. And can you see my screen okay?
I can see it.
Okay, thanks. All right, so it brings up a template, and basically we're filling in the template with the cataloging rules that we've learned. And what I usually start out doing is making a couple modifications to the 008, because you notice in this 008 there's a tag called, it was year, month, day, and this is supposed to be changed to the current date. So I'm going to change this to 18 and change the month to August and today's date, which is the 23rd. Okay. And at this point, I have to look at my item for filling in the rest of the elements, but at least I've got that one out of the way. So the first one I'm going to do is an example that was sent by Abby from Sherman. And it's a, if I'd had time, I would have sent you the images. Maybe I can, well, might be a little challenging to bring them up. So let's see what I can do. The name of the book is called Mythical Beasts. And let me see if I can do a quick search. I'm flipping over to WorldCat to see if this book is even in WorldCat. Oh, there's all sorts of, maybe I need to put the subtitle in. Okay. So it's nice when you find it in WorldCat because it gives you some additional aids in figuring things out. So I'll flip back over to Evergreen. I was given an ISBN, a picture of it, so I'm going to type that in. Zero 9414488. Okay. Now for the 040, since I'm doing the cataloging, I'm going to put in the codes for the OCLC code for Sage library system. If you're a lot of your libraries have an OCLC code, and that would be what you would put in here. If you don't have an OCLC code, there is a 3 or 4 character code that's associated with your library. We have those listed on the cataloging logins page. If you don't know what your code is, let me know and we can get that to you. So I'm typing that in the A and C field. Now, if I know the call number information, I can type it in here in the 082 and 092, but I don't know that at this point, so I'm going to skip it for now. And I'm looking through these sheets here for the author. Okay. And let me look over at WorldCat. Okay. So I am not seeing an author. The copyright is by the publisher. So in this case, without some further research, I'm going to skip the 100. I can go ahead and delete it. And then if I don't have a 100, I need to change this first indicator to a 0. And type in my title. Now you notice that this form does not have any of the AACR2 punctuation, so that has to be added by the cataloger. This has a subtitle, so that's why I put the colon in, and then I'm going to type in the subtitle. Okay, let's see if I can look at what I'm looking for now is a statement of responsibility, and I'm not seeing one. So for now, I'm going to leave off the subfield C. I can always add it later if I find in looking at more pictures of the image, I might be able to find some more information about it. Most of you will be doing this with the item in hand, so you'll have more to go on than I do with some pictures. So some of these decisions might be a little easier with the item in hand.
Can I give a little tip?
Yeah, go ahead, Dia.
I recently found out that if you just leave either a subfield or a line blank here, that when you create the record itself, when you save it, those won't show up. So you don't actually have to go in and delete all those things.
Good point, Dia. You're right.
Just a helpful thing.
It is a helpful thing, and it saves you some time rather than having to go through and delete. So the 250 is an addition statement. I don't see any indication that there's any type of addition statement on this particular work. So I'm going to leave that blank for now. All right, the 260 is, of course, the place of publication. It lists on here that it is Worcester, United Kingdom. And I've gotten used to spelling these out with RDA, so I'm trusting that I've got that okay. We need the colon, and then the publisher, which is 3D Total Publishing. And the date is 2017. Okay, since I filled those fields in, I can go up here and fill in the country. Anybody offhand remember what the country code for United Kingdom is?
ENK.
That's what I've been using, yeah. The K stands for United Kingdom, the EN for England, correct? I'm much more familiar with the United States. Countries do come up with a right click, John, so that's how I often check myself. I know that ENK is a valid one. If I go down to the ENK, there's England. So if there's a country that I just haven't encountered before, I'll often right click on this to find the right one. The next thing I can fill in on this 008 fixed field area is the date, since we know it was published in 2017. Since I'm up here, one of the things we can also fill in is this lit F field to indicate fiction or nonfiction. If you can't remember the code, you can right click on it, and it is 0 for nonfiction. If you click on that value, it will populate the field. Okay. All right, we'll keep on going down to their 300 field for pagination. I know that it's 313 pages. And it is illustrated. There we go. Keep forgetting. So abbreviations under the AACR2 are spelled out with RDA. So there was an indication that there was some color, but mostly black and white illustrations. And so with the RDA, we've been putting, I think, some color. And you guys will have to remind me if it's different under AACR2, because I'm getting so used to doing the other way. But there again, I can come back and I can adjust that. Okay, semicolon. And this is the size. And I know it's 23 by 29 centimeters. Series
Hey,
info.
Beth,
Go ahead.
it's Ellen. Could you, I would like to actually hear about the way we're supposed to be doing the non-RDA for the B in terms of color versus black and white illustrations. You said you couldn't remember. Is there anybody else there that knows? Because I'm a little confused about that. Is Dia still there?
I am. I'm doing some looking.
Okay.
It's not, and really we could leave that off and not even put it. It's not important to the record per se.
Okay.
So
some color is correct.
okay.
If it's chiefly colored, then we usually use the term chiefly colored.
Okay.
Would that also be in parentheses then?
Yes.
Okay, and
yes.
that's for non-RDA stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And it basically, the RDA uses the same term. What I was questioning myself was about whether it's spelled out or it's abbreviated.
No, okay. It's COL period.
COL period. Okay. So, so that's the difference between AACR2 and RDA.
Okay.
In this particular instance.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. I've started seeing some records come in that have a smattering of both. It'll be interesting because they'll have some things spelled out, which to me indicates that it's more RDA, and then they'll have the 260 and they won't have the 33X. Anyway, there's strange combinations coming through as people are working towards having more RDA records. We see these hybrids. So don't be surprised if you see some mixtures out there.
I think maybe that's why I got mixed up.
Yeah, understandable.
Okay,
I don't think that there's a series in this, so I'm going to skip over the 490. The 500 is for any notes you want to add to the record. What I might do for now is I might indicate that the forward, because it's mentioned on the back page where the back cover, sorry, of the book. And I spelled forward wrong. Okay. 520 is for a summary. And here again, use your best judgment. Oftentimes there will be a summary somewhere on the book that you're welcome to use. And Some of them are short, some of them are long. And I don't think we have a rule per se other than use your best judgment and don't bring in something that's super long. We want it to be useful to the patron, but not bogging them down. Let's put it that way. Somebody had a question about the 300. You put both dimensions. It depends. I'm thinking back to the rules. If the length is larger than the height, you put both dimensions. Is that kind of what others are remembering? It's used mostly.
You mean width?
Sorry, width, yes.
Yep,
yes.
that is correct. If the width is greater than the height,
yeah.
you put both with the height first.
Correct. And this is mostly used, you mostly see this with children's books, not so much with adult. So yes, Lisa's saying wider than tall. So I just got my terms messed up here. So for the description, I'm going to start typing in what's on the back and then fill it in later because you don't want to sit there and watch me type forever, right? So I may just type the...
Beth, this is Ellen again.
Uh-huh.
Did you get my question I emailed you about the summary links?
I did, and so that's why I tried to address it with using your best judgment.
Does that mean that we can shorten it?
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay.
This is something that you don't have to take verbatim off the item. That's often the easiest course because they've already done the work of creating a summary for you. But if you feel it's too wordy, you are welcome to shorten it.
Okay.
Anybody else have some feedback? And yes, you can cut and paste it from WorldCat if it matches for the 520. That saves you a lot of typing. And you just have to kind of proofread it to make sure they didn't make any errors as well. Okay, the 599 here in this record allows me to pull reports of records that have a 599 in them. Dia takes care of her area, and then John and I are taking care of the rest of the upgrades. And so it allows me to create reports of records that need to be reviewed. Subject areas. Now this can be challenging unless you know the material well, and you can get subjects off of table of contents, the description itself. For sake of brevity today, I'm going to hop back over to WorldCat and look at the subjects that they have already assigned this particular work, so that I don't have to take up too much of your time. So they have monsters in art. So I'm going to come back over here and type in monsters art. Make sure I got that right. Yeah, monsters in art. So then we have another one, animals, comma, mythical in art. Okay, one thing I can do is I can right click on this and see if this happens to be a subject in our system, because sometimes if we haven't encountered it before, yeah, there it was, animals mythical in art. Okay, I want to make sure I had it right.
Beth, it should be capital M for mythical.
Yeah, I just noticed that. And that helps you find things that maybe need to be slightly different. Okay, so here's the actual authority entry. And if I had gone back over to here, I would have seen that it had a capital M in their example too. So thanks for catching that, Dia. Okay, so the next entry is a 655, which is a genre. And they don't list a genre heading in the WorldCat entry. So I would probably skip the genre at this point and go ahead and create another 650 tag. Just drawing. Whoops. Started typing just a little too fast here. Okay. Drawing. Drawing and technique. So any questions about that? So
I have a quick question.
yeah.
I know these are temporary records, but are you concerned with punctuation?
You know, I want folks to get it as close as possible. So yes, as much punctuation as they can put in, the easier my job is. So you want to point out some places I missed punctuation.
I could.
Yeah, I don't mind.
At the end of 245, subfield B, because there's no statement of responsibility.
Yep.
Ending
Very
punctuation would be a period.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the 260, that would also be a period. It's
Yep.
ending punctuation. At the end of the 300, that is not, there shouldn't be a period. That is actually, CM is actually a symbol rather than an abbreviation. And the period actually has to do with whether or not there's a series heading.
Right.
Very complicated.
And it is complicated. And so because, you know, even though we have a series field in here, we're not populating it. So we have to take the period off.
That one's a little confusing.
I'm really looking forward to some advances in cataloging rules in the future where punctuation is not as big a deal.
500
Yep.
should end in a period.
So most of these end in period, just
right.
kind of.
And your subject fields as well.
Yeah. And so when you're busy typing, you don't always think about the periods, but it's a good thing to look at them. And I'm glad Dia mentioned something. Look at it before you save, because then there's less to change later. Okay, anything else that we want to see? I'm thinking that here again, I don't know whether it has an index at this point. I'm going to have to look, see if I can look at, or check with Abby. No backslash at the end of the title. Correct. When there's no statement of responsibility, there's no backslash. Is that what you folks mean? Yes, Lisa, there is, because we know that there's illustrations. We can fill in the illustration field. There again, if you forget what those are, you can right-click on it to show basic illustrations, or A. If it also has maps, you put both the A and the B. You can have as many as 4 codes listed in this ILS box. Let's pronounce it that way, for the illustrations. So you just stack them until you've got your 4. I don't think I've ever seen 4 in the field, but a lot of times it's just 1. I've seen 2, 2 different values in there quite often. All right, so let's look and see. I didn't see any indications of audience. There again, if we right-click on it, you can see what the values are. Unknown or unspecified is just the blank. And I feel like that's probably the closest. Any other opinions one way or the other? Okay, so at this point, barring any other changes, I'm going to click on Create Record. This will add it to the system and allow Sherman to save their items. Now this is a little JavaScript error that's been happening when you create MARC records. Oftentimes it'll say this tab may have unsaved data. Replace it anyway. If you feel a little trepidation, well, there's no way to save it other than create record. So I click on OK, and it does save my record successfully.
Beth, that's something I'm seeing a lot, and it's not necessarily just when I create that, but it seems to hang from one session to another as well.
So clicking in the normal session, you could click on Save Again just to reassure yourself.
But if it was a previous back a ways, or you've closed the tab and it still says it, what do you suggest then?
I would suggest I guess it depends on whether you know you saved it.
Even sometimes clearing the cache doesn't seem to make it go away.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just an annoying thing.
It is an annoying thing and doesn't seem to have any, at least in the situations that I've seen it, doesn't have any bearing on reality. But I always think about my situation. Okay, did I really save it? And if I really did save it, then I ignore the error message. I'm hoping that will go away when we upgrade our software.
I'm hoping so too.
Yeah, because it's an extra annoying step. So it did bring in the book jacket image for this one based upon the ISBN. So that's good. And it looks like a fairly complete record. Like I said, I'm just going to do a little bit more research to see if I can fill in some more information in the particular book. Look over the pages that Abby sent me a little bit more detailed and make sure we've got that one covered. Do you guys want to look at another example?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Barbara sent me one. And let me get back into, okay, create new MARC record. This is also a book. One of the things I want to mention, though, in between now and when I get the other templates loaded, I would like, if you're creating an original audiobook or an original video, please choose the audio or video template and then go ahead and add a 599 to the record. I know Ellen had a problem when she tried to add a 599 to the kit template. So I'm going to look into that and see if I can duplicate that error. But I think you shouldn't have any problem go ahead and loading this template, filling in your fields, and then adding another line for the 599. If you don't add that line, I won't know that it's a temp bib. And I won't be able to find it as quickly. We do review new bibs in the system, but those it's taking a little longer to go through. It's a bigger pool to look through. So any questions about that in the meantime? Okay. All right, I'll load this template again. I'm going to also see if this book is in WorldCat. It's called The Cloud of whoops, I gotta spell it right. Cloud of Unknowing. Okay. Well, there's lots of books with this title. This one is actually by Anonymous. And I could put that in the search string as well. Okay. I am not seeing anything offhand. Well, there's one. Sometimes these entries help and sometimes they're no help at all. But I'm all for exploring additional resources. Okay. So let me look. I got these examples like 5 or 10 minutes before we signed on, so I haven't really even
Beth?
had it. Go ahead.
There is another one. So I did a title, Cloud of Unknowing, and author Anonymous
Yeah.
on WorldCat, and it came up with another one by Lesetra Publishing in 2015.
Okay. Let me go back to the search results.
Because I don't see it on that list. So that's why I did the advanced search, just to see if I would get something different.
Okay. No, thanks for doing that.
No problem.
Refine your search. Let's just go to advanced search.
Yeah, that's what I did. And I didn't put the in there, so I don't know if that makes a difference.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure which one you were actually after.
I'm not sure either yet. I'm looking through my pages. I do have an ISBN, which may or may not help. The ISBN does not match. Which doesn't mean that it's not going to be okay. Wow. I know Barbara said there was very little information on this particular resource. So this might be a tough one to work through. So I'm probably going to need to do more research. So let's go back to the form and let's fill in this part, the 1808, and today's date, 23rd. What's listed on here is 2018. And it was, it listed Middletown, Delaware. Guess I can type in the title. All right, something to remember here in this form is the second indicator here is 0 by default, because that's what you're going to encounter the most often. But because we have the at the beginning here, we really need to change this to a 4 for the number of skip digits for indexing. There is no subtitle. And the statement of responsibility is anonymous. That could also be entered in for the author. Okay, an addition statement. So there's an introduction in the information that Barbara sent to me. So I'm going to read through that offline. I'm going to go ahead and type in the ISBN that was provided. And I don't have a scanner attached to my workstation. Otherwise, I could just scan it in. Okay. There again, the cataloging codes. I'll leave the call numbers blank for now. Barbara, were you on the session with us? Okay. Not hearing a response. I'm going to have to get with her and find out pagination information as well as illustrations and size. So I can't really fill those in. So this is going to be a really brief record. So I'll be working on this some more this afternoon. And then I'm assuming this is a non-fictional work. I'm going to put 0 in for the index for right now. till I know whether it has an index. The country I can fill in as Delaware. I can right click on it to make sure that I got the country code correct. DEU, Delaware, yep. Okay. So some more research is needed before I can complete this one. But those who are listening to the recording will be able to look it up later and see areas that I filled in to make it more complete. There again, the subjects I'll be able to pull possibly from other WorldCat examples in the same subject matter, and then the introduction. So I'll do some more research on this. Before we sign off, are there more questions in general about this process?
Beth, could you let us know when you're done with this record so we can go back and look it up and see what you did to it?
Sure, I can. I guess I'll just send that out via the SageCat listserv. I'd be glad to do that. Just didn't want to bore you with the details, but if you want to see them, I'd be glad to share.
Yeah, it's helpful to know, where you get stuff and how you go about solving what puzzles you.
Oh, understandable. And I would encourage folks, if you're having a challenge, is about a particular area, go ahead and send a question out to the SageCat listserv. I think we could all benefit by some discourse, and if you're puzzled about it, possibly somebody else is too. Okay, well, if there's not any other questions, I will pause the recording for this session and look forward to working with you guys again.